A sneak peek at what's coming up next.
People can get addicted to social media the same way you can get addicted to gambling or anything else. And why is short form media so addictive? It's because you constantly get that stimulation, right? But then I was thinking about what about people who have ADHD, or especially kids, who have a hard enough time trying to focus as it is. These things that are distracting for anybody. But imagine if you have ADHD, how much more distracting these things can be. Like today, we're not going to watch YouTube. We're not going to watch Coco Melon. We're not going to do all those things. We're going to consume older media. We're going to maybe go outside. We're going to use our imagination. We're going to read a book.
I don't necessarily think that there is a drastic negative effect of these things. I also see them as a potential positive.
I said most people shouldn't be voting anyway. And they said, oh my God, I'd love to hear you justify that opinion. A recent study shows that about 30% of Americans are politically disengaged.
That's fucked.
So those 30% of people probably shouldn't be voting on the top. Get ready for peak autism infotainment. Thrilling topics, amazing guests, great laughs, and autism.
On the Spectrum, an autistic podcast.
Welcome to another episode of On the Spectrum podcast. I am your Captain Tism, Stephen Norton.
And I'm his first lieutenant guy.
Yeah, that's fun.
I don't know.
So, yeah, we don't presume to be experts or something. That's what Nick's line.
All right, I'll do it. Me and Steven do not presume to be experts of anything whatsoever. We're just two guys who happen to be on the spectrum and happen to have a podcast, which some people would say we probably shouldn't. But others say, okay, no.
No, I'm done with all the shaming. It's fine. We can have one.
Everybody can have one. Because that's what equality in language looks like. That's what the First Amendment in reality looks like. We all have a right to be jackasses. That has nothing to do with our topic today. I just started saying it.
So I was doing some thinking the other day, which is why there was a 3-alarm fire down the street.
It was a big blaze.
Yeah. So it's another me topic episode like the last one. So
yeah. Because Steve's been doing this thinky thing.
Well, for a long time on this show, I've kind of I occasionally will shit on like social media or the fact that people don't think about things deeply. It's all surface level shit. We complained about it on the podcast. I'm not talking about everybody, Nick. I'm talking about just like your normie, the normie, the average person. They just consume media in a very lazy, very shallow, very surface level way.
But they always have. Like, you're saying they're, shallow kind of way. There's a reason why People magazine was like widely bought on a regular basis.
Yeah, you get
and the New Yorker wasn't.
I get you.
Popular, but not.
You.
You know what I mean?
But I believe that since I was a child, that it's slowly gotten worse. And how can you measure that? Well,
yeah.
You look at the types of media. Yes, we had stupid television shows that were mindless. Yes, we had reality TV, especially going from the late 90s into early 2000s. There's always been stupid shit to consume.
There's always been level shit.
There's always bread and circus, right? It's always that distracting, mind-numbing bullshit. A lot of pro-level sports are probably on that level too. You take a football game that should last an hour and it's dragged out over fucking 3 hours.
Yeah, because of all the commercials and all the other bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but my point with this is I was thinking about, when you consume like short form media, we know that your body reacts to it like an addictive substance. You have dopamine reaction to it.
Yeah.
People can get addicted to social media the same way you can get addicted to gambling or anything else.
Right.
And why is short form media so addictive? It's because you constantly get that stimulation, right?
Right.
And so I was thinking about, you have short form video, you have like mobile games that do the same thing where you're playing games on your phone and it's constantly giving you little things that pop up and more gems and rewards.
Yeah,
and
nice little positive rewards.
It's a feedback loop. They're trying to get you to keep playing, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so I was thinking this stuff is probably not great for a lot of people, mental health wise, right? But then I was thinking about what about people who have ADHD or especially kids who have a hard enough time trying to focus as it is.
Right.
wouldn't it be maybe a little worse for them because they already have a hard time concentrating, and then these things that are distracting for anybody. But imagine if you have ADHD, how much more distracting these things can be. And so my next thought after that was maybe, and I said this to you, I was like, do you think it would be a good idea for most families to try to plan like days, the detox, like digital detox days, where you just, like today we're not going to watch YouTube, we're not going to watch Coco Melon, we're not going to, I'm just using that as an example because I've heard that's one of the most brain dead.
That's twice now you've brought up
I've
Coco
heard that,
Melon.
I've never watched it, but I've heard it's one of the most mind-numbing, like dumb, turn off your brain.
I thought it was an educational show for kids.
No, I thought it was like a brain dead, like entertainment for kids. Like that's not, I don't know. Anyway, point is, we're not going to do all those things. We're going to consume older media. We're going to maybe go outside. We're going to use our imagination. We're going to read a book, right? Because you read a book, you have to use your brain a little bit more. You have to imagine. It gives you time to, if you're reading properly, you actually think about the things you're reading on the page, right?
I fucking hate reading.
All right. I'm not saying you have to read. I'm saying that's one option. Or you consume older media that's not slapping you in the face with dopamine every 2 seconds, where it's like you watch an episode of a TV show or an older movie where there's more lulls in the amount of excitement, you know, where there's stuff that builds up. There's tension that's drawn out. There's character. Anyway, the point is you're not being like smacked in the face every 2 seconds with bright colors and flashy lights and all this shit.
I got it, old man. It's cool.
Okay. So that's,
for once you're making the old man statements.
So I said this to you, and then I was like, Nick, I hope, because I wasn't sure how you were going to react because you have children.
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to react. Well, I didn't think you were going to react, but I thought that a possible reaction would be that you would be like, what do you know? You don't have any kids. Don't tell me how to raise my kids, even though I wasn't telling you how to raise your kids.
No, you weren't.
I'm saying that I think it would be a good idea in general for families to do that sometimes. And families, not even just with kids. If you're living together with somebody else as a couple, maybe as a couple, you can say, hey, today we're not going to doom scroll on Instagram all day. We're going to do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a overall general, I think if people want to, fucking feel free and do so. But the premise you proposed was based on the idea that you think people consume too much and it's affecting people negatively.
Yes.
And on that, I don't think people should plan to cut off from social media or digital influences altogether just because. I don't necessarily think that there is a drastic negative effect of these things. I also see them as a potential positive. But if somebody chooses, like if for their family and their kids, they choose to have a day during the week where they don't consume any of it, cool, so be it. So be it. But that's your family, your way, and it should be your choice. But at the same time, I don't think they should cut off because they think there's some boogeyman to it. I
don't think it's a boogeyman. I think it's a natural consequence of the incentives for the creation of the content.
Yeah, but I mean, like everywhere we go, we have rewards. Everywhere we go, we're being given behavioral modification techniques.
Right.
Okay. Like you go to a fast food restaurant, their menu is designed to catch your eye.
Yeah. I mean, the founder of modern advertising was like related to Freud, right? Freud's son or something, or not
Could
son,
be.
but cousin or something.
It could be some a-hole who read a lot about psychology.
I know for a fact he was related to Freud. I just don't know how he was related. I don't remember.
There's a connection
But
there.
the founder of modern advertising was a relative of Freud who used a lot of his ideas to try to manipulate people into buying stuff.
Well, I mean, there's an entire branch of psychology called industrial organizational psychology. And to the best of my understanding, that's their entire fucking goal, is to reorganize and make companies, more efficient.
Right.
So they're not doing research to make the employees do better mental health wise, but a lot of their strategies and a lot of stuff they research is also about marketing.
Well,
it's about how to manipulate people into getting you to buy more
I would
shit.
say that you're right, but I would argue that there's a little bit of a difference to it because like when we were younger, before the modern, like the way it is now with social media and having the internet in your pocket on a phone or a tablet, you would be exposed to that kind of stuff all the time, but it was like commercials on TV,
right,
or things that weren't constantly in your face.
And there was time away. Granted, it was more than our parents had, but it's less than what we have
and you
now.
would flip through a magazine, you'd see an ad in a magazine, you would watch TV, you'd see ads on TV. but now it's like constant. And
Yes.
what I meant with the incentive structure is that if you're a content creator, a lot of that stuff, there's an incentive to create that stuff because a lot of that stuff ends up doing well, and the people consuming it, they don't care. They're consuming it, or there's children consuming it.
Right.
And so you just keep pushing it out because it's beneficial to you to create that crap. And a lot of it, my problem with it is a lot of stuff that people consume is very surface level. And
no
so,
shit.
Right, but I think that it's, and I don't have any way to prove this. I have some
just
stuff that I looked
speculating.
up, some studies that suggest that maybe my idea could be correct. I can't confirm it, but there is some evidence to suggest that maybe my idea about like it impacting the way that people think is true. I think that people have less time to imagine or to think about things deeply. And I think it's causing younger people to think more shallowly, and even older people as well. But I'm saying that at least we had opportunities when we were younger to like think deeper or be alone with our thoughts. But what about these kids who are growing up in this world where they're constantly bombarded with these short form videos and things where they're being told what to think and giving surface level opinions on things, and they don't have time to process any of it before they scroll to the next one, and then just flooding their brain with all of this information.
So I will say everything you just said, there's something to it. Sure. I will say this though, when like there's a good, I think it's like 7 or 8 years between us age wise, 45.
I'm going to be 40 this year.
Oh, 5 years between us. That's even better actually. So that's closer in age than I actually thought. All right. I think that when we were younger, okay, I think we were given surface level shit. We just didn't think it was surface level shit. And here's my example of that. When we went to school, okay, we had a social studies class. And in that social studies class, they talked about the history of America.
Yeah.
But by no means did they give us any real detail or understanding of how it actually worked.
No, I mean, typically you learn that when you get into higher grades, like when you're in high school or college.
I'll tell you, in high school, that same level class did not really teach the fucking Constitution.
I learned basic biology like in middle school, but then when I took biology in high school or AP Bio, you learn more like you learn more of the specifics.
And I'm actually staying away from certain sciences for a reason, because those things fundamentally you have to learn the fundamentals and they add more onto it. Cool. But like the Constitution, there's a bunch of shit about the Constitution, the founding of this country, things that have happened in the U.S. history. And people, I see it a ton on our socials, man. People say, well, I never got taught that in school. Yeah, no shit, because you were supposed to move on to learn more.
I would say that still say that you're correct about that, but at the same time, I would still argue that it's surface. I would still argue that it's worse because of the stuff that people are consuming.
So what you said about content creators, I think that is probably closer to where we're going to agree about this surface level thing, because content creators for social media, okay, who are doing it in general content creation, not like we do it just for autism neurodivergence, but people who are doing TikTok accounts that are just all about the trend, whatever the latest trend is, right?
Or the brain rot videos, which we were talking about before we started recording, where it's like you'll have somebody playing Minecraft and then there's some stupid clip on top of it.
That one. Those people are the ones that I think are not just creating that surface that you're talking about, but are maintaining it to not think about anything, because there is no good reason to watching somebody play Minecraft while you're also watching a clip of a different video game on top of it. There is no fucking reason
that all of that is just for like dopamine stimulation.
Right,
it's for dopamine release. It's all stimulation, mental stimulation. But it's not mental stimulation where like it's not providing anything for you really. It's
nothing.
just,
and that's where we can agree on it. What I think people need to also understand is, in my view, okay, what people lack from their social media is they're not controlling it. Okay. And we can all agree that there's an algorithm doing it, but you can type shit into the search bar.
Yeah.
And
even one of the studies that I looked at, they were saying they were mainly focusing on stuff on like the For You page, just the stuff that's being recommended to people. Yeah. And I'm not even saying that all of that stuff is inherently bad. I'm not saying that it's inherently bad. Right. My issue with it, or what I'm saying I think is the problem, is the level to which people consume it. And I see it all the time with coworkers, people I interact with on a daily basis, just sitting there and doom scrolling. Friends of mine, people with kids that come into my store, and the kids are just consuming this most brain dead shit, just scrolling through it.
Like what? No, don't go into like what. We both know. We both know like what.
Like Skibbity Toilet.
I don't.
Like,
it was a fad that lasted for a little while. So be it. Every generation has fads that come and go.
Right.
And
It's to the level that
the language. Okay.
It's to the level. So like when you and I were kids, I'm not saying that we were perfect or anything like that. I'm just saying that there were certain limits to how much we can consume of certain things. And now
potentially
you have the internet, you have unlimited access to information, like we talked about earlier.
Yes.
But you also have unlimited access to like the most brain dead, stupid shit.
Okay. So
that you can just like they call it zombieing out. Zombieing, when you kind of like sit there and drool on yourself
and you just kind of flick up. Yeah, I got it. Here's what I'll say. Instead of people being resistant to these things, okay, maybe I'm jumping way ahead in our conversation by saying this, but we've also, everybody who's watching now, me and Steve have also been talking about this for the last 40 minutes as well. So unfortunately, we didn't record any of it because we wanted to kind of structure things a little bit. So we'll have to backtrack. But why don't, instead of teaching people to take time away from it, why don't we teach people how to use it to their advantage?
Well, you could do that too. I'm not saying you can't do that.
How to identify what's something worthwhile to look at and to look into more, and how to dismiss something as being unimportant.
I'm just identifying something I think is a problem. I'm not saying that I have all the solutions to it. I said one solution could be to just like set limits for yourself and your family.
Yeah, but I'm a very solution kind of focused person, and that is one solution, but I don't think that ultimately is a solution that is sustainable in the sense of social media is not going to go away tomorrow.
No, but
I don't think it'll go away in 20 years.
If you want to doom scroll, then set limits like I'm only going to zone out on stupid shit for 20 minutes, set an alarm, and then after 20 minutes, now I'm going to do something else.
How about don't doom scroll at all? Instead, type something into the search bar and get more information.
Yeah, but I think that
something.
there is, because it's something that's addictive, and it might be for some people, maybe it's even therapeutic to sit there and zone out with stupid shit.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm saying you should
literally do it that way.
But I'm saying you should probably set some sort of limit to it, because especially if ADHD, that 10 minutes can turn into an hour very easily.
Yeah, well, I actually purposely, when I have only an hour until the next thing I've got to do, and I don't feel like engaging or starting into a project because I only have an hour, I will literally sit there and just go through it. But I also have the mindfulness enough to like check the time every so often.
One of the things
at my age, if I was 20, I wouldn't be able to do that. But my point is just to focus more on a solution to it. Why don't we teach people how to utilize it better? Why don't we use it like you're talking about surface level thinking, and you're talking about, people are getting shallower in their thinking. Well, that's because nobody's bothering to take time to learn how can we use this to our advantage? How can we use it to start educating ourselves
I think there are
topics that we didn't know about?
Well, I've heard of teachers, and I don't know how prevalent this is, but I've heard anecdotal instances of teachers trying to utilize some of that stuff in their teaching, like creating short form videos for their kids.
Why not?
But on the other side of that, do you think that is a bad thing that literacy rates are going down on the, and that like a lot of kids can't read?
You mean in an overall question?
Yeah. Do you think it's a bad thing, or do you think that, well, the future is not going to be reading? Okay. Or like they should consume media another way.
So I care more about people's ability to comprehend the information they're receiving more so than how they receive it.
Right. But
so do I give a shit if somebody can sit down and read Moby Dick? Nope. But do I give a shit if somebody can understand the point of Moby Dick? I care more about the comprehension of the story and the moral behind Moby Dick, more so.
Well, if you can communicate it verbally, but there are certain things that you might only be able to consume via reading. Like if you're trying to consuming research, it's going to be harder for you to consume that unless you can read through it yourself.
With all due respect, sir, most people don't know how to read research now.
My point is, or what about
being able to
what
read
about
the words
law?
Does not
Like if you're legal stuff, if you're going to go to court, if you're involved in a lawsuit, like being able to actually read through the stuff is important.
I agree that
what you
should
sign-
be able to because
Right.
it's important. But at the same time, I know the vast majority of people can't and don't and won't. Honest to God, you remember a couple years back the joke about nobody reads the user agreements?
Yeah.
Okay, like people just click acknowledge and move on.
Yeah.
That's how I feel every time I talk about laws in the U.S., when I talk about definitions of things with people, when I talk about the Constitution, that's how people look
People
at me.
only care about rights. They don't care about consequences or responsibility.
Or even how it applies. Fuck, somebody... I took an American government class in college, and in said class, and the reason why I'm prefacing this by telling you where I got the information, because I know there's going to be some Republican asshole who's going to be like, "Boy, that liberal professor told you." Fuck off. You can look this shit up. The Second Amendment, okay, is directly connected to a 2010 Baltimore case, okay, when Baltimore tried to make a law in the city of Baltimore and stop people from carrying guns altogether. And somebody brought that to the Supreme Court, okay? 2010 is when the Second Amendment actually, not ratified, I forget the term, actually became one of the rights that people carry because of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is probably one of the most important amendments there is, but very few people know what it says. Very few people know why it's so fucking important. And very few people can even tell you anything of why the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, okay, did not actually apply to all people in the United States up until a certain
Good. Get
point.
rid of them. No Bill of Rights. Freedom of religion gone.
But people don't know that. And like one of the dumbest things I ever heard from somebody the other day was...
Well, I think the 14th basically applied it on a federal level, where I think before that it was up to the states to decide how the rights were guaranteed.
So the 10 amendments, the first 10 amendments only applied federally up until the 14th Amendment. And somebody please go ahead and argue with me. I got a fucking book that'll back it up. But the first 10 amendments did not apply to both because we had a dual federalist system.
We should just go back to landowners only can vote. And
oh my good God.
No, I think I really feel, and I don't want to turn this into a political discussion.
No,
I
don't either. So
social media
let me
thing,
get back on track. Let me get back on track. The reason why I'm bringing all this up, okay? The reason why I'm bringing it up is because Steve is talking about how he thinks people aren't thinking as deeply as they used to and shallower and don't know as much shit as they used to, because you brought up that IQ thing at 1.2. And I get it seems like that. But I don't think, like, even my generation, I'm Gen X. I'm like one of the last years of Gen X. And even with friends of mine growing up, half these fuckers didn't care about reality. They didn't give a shit about thinking about anything deeper.
No, the
than,
average
like,
the average person
level.
is pretty. Well, I wouldn't say stupid, but the average person.
I'm going to say that.
The average person is average, right?
Yes, the average person is average.
The way that statistics and mathematics work, right? That means half of the people in the country are below average intelligence. Or not below average, but below are not very bright.
I will straight up say that most people.
Right. So I got.
And by the way, that's most people worldwide. Everybody.
So I got into like a little spiff with somebody online.
I'm only slightly.
And I think they thought I was going to say something completely different from what I said.
Yeah.
But they were talking about like the voter ID law and like how Trump wants to make it so you need an ID to vote.
Yeah.
And I pointed out like I don't really care about the law either way, but I did point out that most countries you do need some form of ID to vote.
Yeah.
One exception I think is Australia, but most like democracies and Western countries require an ID to vote.
Really?
But what I said was I
actually didn't know that.
What I said is I said most people shouldn't be voting anyway. And they said "Oh my God, I'd love to hear you justify that opinion." And I said, well, I was like, a recent study shows that about 30% of Americans are politically disengaged, meaning they're politically disengaged, meaning they have no interest in politics,
right?
And admit that they know nothing about it.
They don't give a rat's fuck.
So those 30% of people probably shouldn't be voting on the top.
Probably
then
not.
I take them back to that, the other 20%.
Yeah.
Because I said roughly 50%.
Yeah.
I said 50 is just a rough average.
Yeah.
But so you take about 30% of the people off the top, admit that they know nothing. They probably shouldn't be voting.
Yeah.
The other 20% is like people who are really low IQ, really stupid, and or people who are just what was I going to say? I use the specific word, but just people who are
lacking in the proper information,
lacking integrity, or just like,
you mean people that are too far of either direction?
yeah, just like you should not be voting if you lack the knowledge, intelligence, or rational mind to make the decision.
Which is why the far on both sides excluded.
So my proposal, my dream system would be some sort of, and Socrates said this 1,000 years, not 1,000.
Two?
No, not 2,000. It's only 1,000 years ago. Socrates?
Yeah,
Socrates is about 1,500 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Socrates pointed out one of the major problems with democracy is that eventually it turns into a popularity contest and mob rule. And he favored a meritocratic system. The problem is, I don't know how you would make a fair meritocracy.
You can't.
But my ideal system would be that you would have some sort of bar to being able to vote. Like you would have to prove that you're competent, that you actually know what you're voting for. Or so the way that it worked in Socrates' time is basically instead of having everybody vote, when you have people voting and they have no idea what they're voting for, or just picking whoever they like the most and not voting on the ideas, which is what we have now. Yeah. That's why Trump got elected. Yeah. Because he doesn't actually have any ideas. People vote because they like Trump, which is not how the system should work.
But he doesn't really say anything. He says some stupid shit, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't actually say much of it. My favorite was the no tax on overtime or tipping.
Yeah.
Which come to find out, none of that actually ends up being true.
Well, they did. When I got my tax return, there's now an area where you they deduct your overtime.
No, I saw that on TurboTax too. But in the end, maybe it's because I didn't work a lot of overtime, and that's why it didn't affect me all that much.
So I got an extra $100.
Even though they shouldn't have been able to do that. Wasn't it an executive order that he did?
I don't know.
Anyway, beyond
the point is
beyond that.
So I would favor a system where there would be some sort of bar to voting.
Okay.
Where you would have to have some prove that you have some sort of
and people would argue that not everybody has the same access to the information to blah.
That's fine. Then you shouldn't vote if you don't have the knowledge.
Hold on. I'm gonna say this. I actually believe the United States the United States of America is the greatest country on the planet. One, I fought for my country. I was in the Army. I served. I absolutely believe this is the greatest country because of our ability for one thing. Okay, we have a God-given right to be dumb as fuck, and I absolutely support our ability to be dumb as shit.
Sure, be dumb.
Still be
just
allowed
don't vote.
to vote. No, and still be allowed to vote because you're
no. You can be dumb and vote. It's just that I would rather you be dumb but not ignorant when it comes to what you're voting for.
No, I don't care.
You can be stupid.
I'm actually
you can be low IQ, but if you know what you're voting for, go ahead.
I actually am against people having their voting rights taken away from them. I do not think that just because you're in prison, you should not have the right to vote.
I would rather an informed felon vote than some brain dead normie vote who has no idea what they're voting for.
You would rather have a serial killer vote than to have some asshole from Appalachia.
If they know what they're voting for, if they actually understand it.
And I think everybody should have the right to vote, period. I don't care how dumb you are. I don't care how smart you are. Anyway.
Let's not focus too much on voting.
Because me and you could fucking have an entire episode about that.
I want you to listen to this clip. So when I was looking up, and we don't have enough time to go into all the studies I looked up about we
can go a little long. We're not on a TV show.
We can go into some of the studies that I found. These are not by any means all of them. I just pulled up some that I found.
So, side note, why are we still holding ourselves to an hour? We can go long if we want to.
But I want you to, this is a video that came up after I was looking for this stuff. So, algorithm trying to target me.
Because his social media decided it wanted to show Steve this.
But just take a look.
God, I got fat. Look at that face. Look at this.
Sad fact our generation has to face is this. Our kids are less cognitively capable than we were at their age.
Like your mother?
Since we've been standardizing and measuring cognitive development since the late 1800s, every generation has outperformed their parents. And that's exactly what we want. We want sharper kids. And the reason for this largely has been school. Each generation spends more time in school. We use school to develop our cognition. Congratulations, you see your correlation. Until Gen Z. Gen Z is the first generation in modern history to underperform us on basically every cognitive measure we have, from basic attention to memory to literacy to numeracy to executive functioning to even general IQ, even though they go to more school than we did. So why? What happened? What happened around 2010 that decoupled schooling from cognitive development? It can't be school. Schools basically look the same. It can't be biology. This hasn't had enough time to change. The answer appears to be the tools we are using within schools to drive that learning. Across 80 countries, as Gene was just saying, if you look at the data, once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly, to the point where kids who use computers about 5 hours per day in school for learning purposes will score over 2/3 of a standard deviation less than kids who rarely or never touch tech at school. And that's across 80 countries. Bring it home to the US. Let's go to the US. We have our NAEP. That's our big data. Take any state, and here's a fun experiment you can try. Take any state NAEP data. Compare that to when that state adopted one-to-one technology widely, and watch what happens. The NAEP data will plateau and then start to drop.
Pause that shit.
It's done now.
So here's my question, and maybe, this is my ignorance and also my defensiveness, because I love me a good social media video. He said, based on the testing that they have, schools didn't change, humans didn't change.
It's the fact that all the kids are using Chromebooks and stuff now.
Yeah, but so they're getting better with technology and how to use technology, which is good because our world is becoming more technological, advanced, or dependent, whichever way you want to look at that. But he said that our tests are showing, well, maybe our tests need to be updated then. Like,
I don't know. I don't have enough information about
and also,
it.
he said we've been tracking it since the 1800s. Motherfucker, do you not know that in the early 1900s, we didn't know shit about how the human brain fucking worked? Like,
well, I will say,
by the way, everybody, I am not a neurobiologist. I am not a neuropsychologist. I am not a developmental psychologist. I am none of those fucking things. So maybe we have been tracking it for that long in good, valid ways. But
one of the things that I read that could help explain why, like what he was saying, because I don't know the data he looked up. I didn't look it up myself. I just thought the clip was interesting. But one thing I did read that's related to it is when you're consuming things on a screen versus paper. Yeah. Apparently, there is some type of measurable impact on a lot of people. I guess it has something to do with the way, like having something physically in front of you and tactile, like turning a page or flipping through a paper. Apparently, if you're scrolling on a screen, there's things related to distraction or eye strain or having trouble keeping your place because it's on a screen versus having a tactile thing in front of you.
So you're saying if you have a physical book in front of you, you're more likely to...
It's easier for you to go through the information and process it. That's one thing that I had read.
Yeah, I'm going to default you back to that story I told you.
Yeah, but that's one anecdotal.
It's very anecdotal, especially because I was involved in it. And so there was in my 20s, there was a lady I knew, and she read tons and tons of books in a year. I think 13 or 14 books in a year. And I know somebody just went, "You say that's a lot?" Yeah, compared to me, I read like a book in a decade. But she reads constantly, and she said because I don't read, my reading comprehension is going to be less than her, that she's consuming all these stories and books and her imagination is great. So I challenged her chapter to chapter. We read one chapter, same book, and like literally I bought a copy of the book and we sat in front of each other, and granted she had to sit for a while because it took me a while to get through it compared to her. She read it real super quick, but I could tell you more details and I could understand the chapter better. And by the way, somebody else kind of...
Well, that's another thing I read had to do with pacing, is that people tend to pace themselves differently when they're reading physical versus if they're listening to like an audiobook or reading it online. People tend to scroll through it quicker or skim.
Well, yeah, I also sometimes have to reread a sentence or an entire paragraph because it says like...
No, I don't know why that is. Why would people be more likely to skim if they're reading something on a screen versus in a book?
I don't know. That's interesting to me.
So that's part of the reason they're saying that people retain less information is not because the medium itself is necessarily bad, but that people tend to skim through it instead of actually reading every word.
Oh, that's fucked. Like if you're reading, read. And I'll say, because you brought this up too about research and like reading comprehension, people can't read research. It's been my experience that most motherfuckers can't figure out how to read it correctly anyway. Like every time somebody fucking quotes me out of the abstract opposed to the fucking discussion section, or when I ask them what the operational definition was, and they go, "The what?" We all know what that means. No, we don't. You need to actually read what the operational definition from the author is for a whole bunch of different shit.
So I was planning on, because I thought we were going to record later tonight, I was actually going to read through as much of the studies as I could.
Yeah,
so I ended up having to
apologize.
skim. No, it's fine. But I ended up skimming through a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually read all of it. I wanted to go through, I probably wouldn't sit there and read like all the stuff in the middle, but I wanted to read through like, chunks of it.
Well, I mean, let's get some major points here.
All right. So here's one thing.
Yeah.
I'm going into this bias because I was
you are.
looking for evidence to back up my opinion.
Right.
Because I wanted to find out whether there was anything to support it or if I was just full of shit.
Yeah, and I would like to refute these and think that these are just people making a mountain out of a molehill, as the expression goes.
All right, so first one was 2025 Karolinska USA longitudinal study.
Yep.
Tracked 8,324 children ages 9 to 14 over 4 years. It basically was measuring social media, whether social media use was a direct predictor of increased inattention symptoms over a 2-year period. So they did find that kids with higher screen times did have more increased inattention symptoms. However,
basically their ADHD got worse.
But they were saying that they can't conclude any long-term effects. Right. But they said it would depend on like general trends in society. So the more that kids use it, yes, it could be a problem.
It could be. If this was the one I think it is, and
this is the one you talked about where you're wondering where they got their. So it was referencing that.
Yeah, so the study included 8,000 children, but the information they got was from a data collection database of information, and there was like several other studies that took information from the same one. And it, like, to me, they're taking from a larger source. They weren't directly testing on anybody.
So one thing I thought was interesting is it says on average children spent 2.3 hours watching television / videos, 1.4 hours on social media, and 1.5 hours playing video games.
Yeah.
And they didn't notice any increase in inattention with the video games or television, only with the social media.
Yeah.
Which was the interesting thing to me. So like apparently playing like PlayStation doesn't mess up your or make you more have attention issues.
Well, go to the ages again.
9 to
Yeah. What fucking video games is a 9-year-old playing that we would have to like worry about that? Like, I would like to see this same idea run with people who play Call of Duty, because that's way more fast paced.
Yeah, I think though with Call of Duty though you have to manage a bunch of things at once.
Oh, you really do,
because you have
if you're
different
good.
guns and different grenades and all kinds of different
you got
stuff.
2 guns.
Yeah, but it's still more
You
like
got 2 types of grenades. It's a single button. You push it.
Yeah, well,
By the way, I'm not a good Call of Duty player, so that could be why I'm saying that. No, hold on. Like, I'm not trying to refute what it found, because it found an increase in attention symptoms of ADHD, and it probably does, but we have no idea if that attention was an increase of 30 minutes after using or if it was 4.5 hours later, right? And so if something like, it's kind of like the aggression, the video games and TV making kids more aggressive. It was early 2000s. There was a bunch of studies that came out with that.
Yeah.
But the aggression didn't last long. Like, the increase in aggression, based on their operational definitions of a couple of them, like, their version of aggression was a louder voice and quicker responses. Like, that's not aggressive. Well, to me, it's not. But none of the effect lasted very long, but people wanted to talk about it like a motherfucker, as if it was making everybody more aggressive, period.
No,
And
I
it wasn't.
think people were trying to use it to demonize video games when they were talking about like things like school shootings and stuff like
Same
that.
thing. Same
But like
thing
playing
with,
Grand Theft Auto isn't going to make you shoot up your school.
Same thing with D&D back in the late 70s and 80s.
D&D is satanic.
Yeah, like
Satanic
they
Panic.
talked about it being made people into deviants and
was
made fucking people
They call it the
antisocial.
satanic panic.
Yeah, like, but there was no real. I mean, there were people who claimed these fucking. I don't know if there was any research to back any of that up, but I know when it came to the aggression in video games and movies, like, it wasn't long-term aggression. Like, nobody could say that Jeffrey Dahmer killed fuckers because he watched fucking Jaws or something. By the way, I have no idea if those 2 time frames work out correctly. I don't know.
So that the next study, I don't know if this is one that pulls from the same data set that you were talking about.
I don't
This
know.
one says brain structure and screen time.
Uh-huh.
Key finding, longer daily screen exposure was linked to reduced cortical thickness in the right temporal lobe pole and the left frontal gyrus. Is that how you say that? Areas critical for cognitive control and reward processing. Mechanism, the study suggests that excessive screen exposure contributes to delayed brain maturation pattern, often seen in children with ADHD.
Yeah, this is also the one that's on nature.com.
Well, this is an actual study, though.
Translational psychiatry is the journal it's from.
You want to go to the results?
Yeah, please. If I remember this
Discussion has results in the discussion.
Yeah, not go to results, go to discussion, please. The ABCD study. That's the same sample set.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the same one. So both of these took information from ABCD study. I don't know nothing about that study in
Well, how do they get
particular.
the information about the brain then?
I don't know. I just know that that's where the information came from. It straight up says it in it.
It says our study strengthens this conclusion by analyzing data from over 6,000 children.
Yeah.
Additionally, prior to research found that social media use was associated with co-development patterns in key brain regions.
Yeah, all right.
So basically, they're saying that so there's stuff that already affects kids with ADHD, and that this made it worse.
Yeah.
For brain development.
That's essentially what it's saying. And also, it's talking about the brain developing, right?
Yeah.
So what age are they talking about? Who are these kids? And we already know that the structure of the brain is different in people with ADHD compared to neurotypical folk.
It was kids from between the ages of 9 and 10.
Yeah. So they were fucking young anyway.
But they were showing... I'm not smart enough to know what that means.
What?
The brain stuff they're talking about. I don't know what that means.
So
what the fuck is a
so like we do
temporal
know,
pole?
Okay, we do know.
So they have less cortical thickness.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. I don't know what that means.
So it's probably it's either gray or white matter. One of the two of them is not as thick, I guess. Yeah. I would have to double check on my shit.
No, I don't
It's
expect
been
you to be
while.
a fucking brain expert. I'm just saying I don't know what any of that means.
That's all it basically means, is that something didn't develop as much as it could have, or as it does with other folk who, I don't know, not ADHD.
Is this one the same one?
Which one?
This is systemic review on short form video, TikTok/Reels. 2025 review synthesized data from over 98,000 participants to see how infinite scroll content affects the brain. Key finding, high frequency use of short form videos is consistently associated with attentional disruption, reduced executive function, and emotional dysregulation.
Yeah, great, whatever.
I mean, that seems kind of like just like common sense to me, but
Well, so the thing about common sense about it is you're talking about emotional dysregulation. Okay, cool. To what effect? How are we measuring it? And also, what are we comparing it to? Like, some people might watch our podcast and say you're emotionally regulated and I'm emotionally dysregulated on a regular basis. But I take meds to regulate my emotions.
this is from
That's a joke.
MedRxiv, whatever that is.
Yeah, I can't even verify that I don't know anything about that journal either. Not that I'm a fucking expert on what journals are actually valid and which ones aren't, but I don't know.
It's from the California Institute of Technology,
Yeah, and also
University of Washington. Oh, so it's like a group of schools.
yeah, that does not look like a research paper.
Well, they have that's the abstract.
Oh,
They have the full
here's the full text.
text.
Yeah, just go to the conclusion again. It's right there. Conclusion. Or you could scroll past it. That's fine too.
That was the abstract.
Yeah, no, conclusion right there. It really affects cognitive control and emotional regulation in Gen Z, contributing to heightened risks for anxiety and compulsive behaviors. Okay, so it's saying that in Gen Z that there's more anxiety and compulsive behaviors.
Yeah.
Who did we compare to?
I don't know.
Right.
I did not do the study.
Like,
It does say, given methodological limitations
Yes.
in the current literature, further longitudinal and experimental
Yeah.
research is needed. So
yeah.
they have a limit to what information they have.
Right.
but-
So one of the cool parts, and this is something for everybody, don't just read the fucking abstract, read the conclusion section. It'll be called discussion or conclusion. Read that section, because one of the important things about it, and to me, a good research paper should always have this, is them talking about the limitations of their fucking paper. And sometimes there's a section called limitations. But when they're talking about how like their paper itself is not like a definitive fucking thing, that either more research needs to be done and or yes, this is what we drew for a conclusion, but we can't necessarily say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they'll say like what their limitations are, like
and what future research needs to happen to be able to actually draw a real conclusion.
like the first one I showed you. They were saying they did show an increase, but they can't say too much more about it.
Right.
'Cause
Like, yes, there's yes, there was a result, and according to their research method, it was a significance. But
they were also saying if you took the social media away,
Yeah.
that the inattention went away.
possibly.
No, they said that.
When they were doing it, yeah. I don't know if that would be overall.
So they were saying
I mean-
that it could be a problem if trends increase
Yeah.
where like they're consuming more and more.
I also knew a bunch of kids in high school who had ADHD, and
Yeah.
their parents wouldn't let them drink coffee because they thought it made it worse.
I don't know.
Like, no, it doesn't. In fact, we give stimulants to ADHD people.
You want some meth, kid?
Yeah, like we know stimulants to an ADHD person is going to mellow them out a little bit.
All right, next
Like, what
one.
the fuck? Anyway.
The DRD2 gene.
Oh, can we not discuss this one?
Why?
Just
What?
I'm not a big fan of people bringing up like genes and shit.
So
It's like
okay,
because all genes are speculative,
It's
right? Like we don't have definitive evidence to support that one gene is responsible for anything, or even a certain collection of genes is responsible for X. We think we know, but do we have any definitive? Like, is there not just an overall consensus in fucking biology, but like,
so the
do we have
DR
enough evidence to support any one or multiple genes?
the DRD2 is a gene that people have. It's
Yes.
saying there's a variation in that gene on the A1 allele that leads to fewer dopamine receptors in the brain's reward centers.
Reward deficiency syndrome, it's called.
Right. So what they were saying in this particular one, we can look through it if you want, but basically this makes sense to me logically. It says the it makes the ADHD brain hungry for the high intensity dopamine hits provided by gaming and social media, leading to a higher risk of internet gaming disorder.
Yeah, which is not a disorder.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
No. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's not recognized overall as being a fucking disorder.
Because it's not in the DSM.
That would be one place to look.
Is it? Have you heard of Frontiers in psychology?
Of what?
Frontiers is this paper.
No idea.
Oh,
That doesn't mean it's like a shitty paper or a shitty place to find papers.
But this is where
I don't know nothing about it.
the conclusion.
Look, and I also have some of my own biases for some of these things, like my own internalized fucking biases for some of this shit. Like one of mine is the genetics thing. Like I believe these things are genetically driven. But I also think that like there's a lot of people, like there's some girl on TikTok that fucking goes around and says she did some research and she's got a research paper that nobody will listen to, and she identified amino acids or some shit that we need in our bodies to like correct it, and there's specific genes she supposedly identified, but like she ain't got access to a lab like that. But anyway, I just have a problem with it because like once upon a time, they believed addiction was a gene. There was a gene specific for addiction, and we know that's not true. Like, that was fucking debunked a long time ago. Same thing with an addictive personality. That whole idea was fucking debunked a long time ago, too. But the ideas of them still kick around, and there are still people who believe that there's an addiction gene. There isn't.
I don't think there's an addiction gene, but aren't there certain things that would make you genetically predisposed to addiction?
Yes, like ADHD.
Yeah, but
Because the big thing about addiction, okay, and this is what I was taught. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the biggest thing about addiction is that substances or addiction overrides your reward pathway, right? And floods your brain with fucking dopamine better than any fucking thing else. And that's one of the struggles when you come off of a substance is you're trying to regain a feeling of give a shit about things and find joy in things again that you used to have joy in. But because you got overly flooded with dopamine so fucking much that it's hard to find joy in stuff anymore. And like that's from report of people who kick substances when I used to be a counselor. Like that's what this shit is basically saying is like fucking brain rot. Like you're losing faculties and shit because you're fucking your attention and you're being overridden by dopamine and shit. Got it. Like none of that is necessarily new, but I think blaming social media is the part I don't like about it. And one of the reasons why I because no matter how many studies come out that say social media is a bad fucking idea, like it's not going to stop.
I
There's
don't
too
think
much
it's
money in
inherently
it.
bad. I think
And
there are certain aspects of it.
Why not teach people to utilize it better?
Yeah, I don't.
When
Nothing.
TV came out, people had problems with fucking TVs.
There's nothing inherently bad about social media, in my opinion. I think there's it's the way that certain people use it, and it's like I was saying, the incentive structures in place to produce stuff that is shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Content creators and influencers do better.
For instance, I'll give you an example of something that I don't like.
Yeah, please.
There's a trend of AI influencers where people will create like a fake AI person, usually like an attractive young woman. And the whole point is to get views and to get money and donations for this fake attractive woman. Right. Now, are they doing anything that's inherently wrong? I mean, but I don't like it. I think it's because I think it's dishonest, and it's not only that, but like the whole culture of like selling your body and sexuality online to me is kind of weird. Like the pressuring young girls to do things like OnlyFans and all that. I'm not a fan of all that, but but I'm saying I completely agree. But the incentive structures are in place there because it's an easy way to make money.
Right. Oh, hardcore. It's an easy way to make money. Hardcore. Like some of the stuff I fucking hate on social media, all of the pranks. I personally hate pranks. I like the Bush guy. And a lot of people love the motherfucker. And if you like the motherfucker, I don't know cool.
What the Bush guy is.
Oh, dude dresses up like a bush.
Yeah.
Okay. Like seriously, he dresses up like a bush and he scares people.
Okay.
And he just like, he puts a pot and he puts himself in the pot and he dresses up like a bush. And people love the guy and he makes a bunch of money on social media and that's fine.
Hey, at least he's doing something besides making brain rot content though.
Yeah, but I think that's brain rot. You're literally teaching people to fucking scare another human
I'm saying
being.
He actually has to put some effort into making those videos because he has to put the bush on. And I'm saying it like, whereas some people literally doing nothing, or like if you're making AI content creator that's just looking hot.
What, like you got to make the AI, don't you?
The AI does it for you.
Yeah, you have to type. You have to pay money.
You have to type in "make hot girl."
Yeah, you have to pay money.
Make hot girl naked.
Well, I mean, on a bunch of the AI sites, though, you have to pay money to not have a watermark, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that expensive, but
maybe for you.
But it's just like the same thing we've talked before about. Like, for instance, I don't think that prostitution should be illegal.
Yeah,
because I don't think you're hurting anybody.
No, you super changed my mind about that.
If you have sex with another person consensually for money, but I'm still against it, like on a moral basis. I don't like it. I think that people shouldn't have to resort to that for money. But the incentive structures are there in place because if you're a woman who has no other way to make money.
What? But it's not even just about them. There's also the demand for it. There's a bunch of lonely ass guys who women treat like shit.
I'm not saying that if you're a woman who chooses sex work, not because you're forced into it or because you have no other way to make money, but if you actually enjoy it and you choose it, by all means, go ahead. But I'm just saying that.
I mean, you changed my mind about it, and I agree with you. It shouldn't be illegal. Here's my opinion overall about a couple of things you just said. Look, we live in a capitalist society, and straight up at this point, we live in a capitalist fucking world. Okay. And if you can make enough money to raise your kids, if you can make enough money where you're not destitute on the streets and living off the government, fucking do it whatever way you can. right? Like even Bush Guy. I fucking hate those videos because I think you're encouraging people to pull pranks on other people, and I don't agree with that idea. Like, if you want to pull pranks on your buddy, fucking do that. But random fucking strangers and scaring them out of nowhere, I don't approve, but you don't need my approval. You make money. And if that's how you make your money, then make your money, take care of your family, take care of yourself. Good for you. I'm glad you did it. Same thing with OnlyFans. If the way you have found that you find you can still respect yourself, and the way you found to make money and make more than enough money, and you're good with the way you're doing it, fuck, go do it. I don't give a fuck. And I actually think people who give shit to OnlyFans workers, or OnlyFans, what are they called?
OnlyFans models? I don't
There
know.
you go. OnlyFans model, cam people. I don't know what you call them. But anybody who gives shit to them, fuck you. Like, they're trying to make money. Like, to me, there's no fucking difference in having a job doing anything the fuck else.
Yeah, just because I don't like it doesn't mean, like, I'm not going to judge you.
Like,
But
I don't care if you smear peanut butter on your toes. If somebody's willing to pay you to do it, fuck, go do it.
It's not really any of my business.
Yeah, like, fuck,
I'm
do I
not
care?
out here trying to police what people do. That's
Yeah.
why I don't think the prostitution thing. But I wouldn't want my daughter to do it. I wouldn't want to do it myself.
Well, I'm not going to shame. Like, I'm not necessarily going to shame my daughter.
I wouldn't buy a prostitute.
I mean, I don't
and
want
wouldn't
her
want
to. Yeah, I don't. I think from a moral standpoint, I could say I wouldn't want my daughter to do OnlyFans or porn or anything like that.
Sex work.
Yeah, I mean, she could stay at home and live with me. Like, she doesn't have to do sex work. Only. I think my problem with it would be all of the dangers that come with it. Like, if she moved to Amsterdam and did it there, where it's a hell of a lot safer, or potentially a lot safer, I think I would have less of a problem with
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
It's the
some of the issues
dangers
I
that come
have
with
with it are not things that I would want to discuss on air. But
No,
I just like there's
like,
certain moral
it's her
issues I
fucking-
have with some of that stuff. But like,
it's-
I'm not going to
it's her
judge other
fucking
people, and
choice.
I don't think it should be illegal. And
Yeah, like I'm gonna say I think it's her fucking choice. I mean, granted, right now she's 12, so no. But
you're on the island.
if she's in her 20s and she feels like doing OnlyFans, like I can't stop her. She's an adult, right? I would still want to try to protect her the best I could, and still be there for her if she needs me. Maybe provide an alternative.
Well, here's the way I look at it.
But
If I
I'm
was
not
an
gonna say
attractive
no,
young woman,
'cause-
I would probably. There's a good chance that I would try to do it.
Steve, I think there are people in this world that would pay to watch you wiggle your toes.
I'm saying
I think there
if
are.
I was an attractive young lady,
Now, I'm saying right now there are
would
probably
be
people.
I would be very tempted to go make money easy on OnlyFans, but I feel like there's something about that I dislike about being in a society where like that's a big incentive structure for young women to pursue instead of trying to
do what?
pursue something
Like what?
using their mind or their talent.
Straight up only, and not that I'm advocating for more people to do OnlyFans, but OnlyFans like pays way fucking better than a fuck ton of jobs.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
Like a fuck ton better.
Anyway.
because there's a lot of lonely men willing to pay for that.
I don't want to talk about OnlyFans.
No, I don't
Can
necessarily.
we get
want you
back to the
All
social media stuff?
right.
All right, so the next one I
Yeah,
look.
but I think you could make a killing.
All right,
I'm just
people want to
saying.
see my hobbit toes. They're hairy. All right,
Not
declining.
just toes though. Like, ladies, anybody who is attracted to men who watch our show, you'd be willing to pay $1 to see this man dance, wouldn't you?
No. All right, declining IQ.
Yes, still
So
climbing IQ.
this one was
good segue.
Researchers analyzed data from 400,000 Americans between 2006 and 2018.
Yeah.
Found that IQ scores dropped in 3 out of 4 major cognitive categories: verbal reasoning, matrix reasoning, letters and number series. The drop was consistent regardless of the participant's age, gender, or education level, suggesting it is a broad societal trend. The one exception was in spatial reasoning.
Yeah. Well, so
That was the one we looked at before.
Yeah, but so that actually says that it's declining regardless of age, gender, or education.
Yeah, maybe because everybody's
Yeah,
brain
'cause
rotting.
We're all dumber.
We're all brain rotting on social.
Or
That's the thing is we looked up the Flynn effect, right?
Yeah.
So some prerequisite information you have before this is apparently going back to the early days of psychology and they've been measuring IQ and stuff like that. There's been a generational trend where typically over the course of time, people's IQs go up. The average IQ goes up by like a certain number of points. Let's say 3 to 5 points every year or something. Average IQs tend to go up because we've our life expectancy is longer. We have better access to information, libraries, all that shit, right? We've had it more, but now since this newer data showing that IQs have started to go down,
right? So
this is the first time in history where IQs have started to decline.
Yeah,
and I would say that the type of media we're consuming probably has something to do with that.
Maybe. I would also like to point out that very few people actually have their IQ tested. So, like, how are we saying the IQ is going down if very few people actually get their IQ measured? Oh, and for anybody who has ever actually gotten your IQ tested compared to those who took an online quiz, very different.
I think it's funny when if you go on social media and like there's all these fake online IQ tests people test and like I got 304. Yeah, it's like I got 170 and it's like no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
That would make you in like the top.
Oh my god,
10th of 1%.
Yeah,
of humanity.
You would be on one of the highest ends. So here's something I'll say about it because I had my IQ test done once upon a time and I was 2 standard deviations above norm. The second time I ended up taking it, which was only 2 years later, I was only 1 standard deviation above norm, and I asked why. And the person giving me who administered the test said that the scoring, they changed how they did the scoring, and everybody got lower.
Oh.
And I said, "Is that true?" And she goes, "You can look it up." By the way, I never looked it the fuck up. I never.
When did that change?
I just. I got tested originally in 2009, 2010, and then 2011, 2012. So that's when I got it. And that's what this person told me. I don't know 100% if that's 100% true or not. I don't know if there was a variation in tests and the 2 scores ended up being different. All I know is first test, I was 2 standard deviations above norm. The second test, I was only 1 standard deviation above norm. And this woman explained it as because the definition of normal range of intelligence shifted.
So I walked in and I took a test and then they just handed me the book Forrest Gump. And I don't really know. I don't really know what that was supposed to mean.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Here's another thing I'm going to point out about that IQ test. Okay. Because I used to work doing psychological assessments. I used to administer them. Not that I'm a doctor or anything like that. They actually have toadies that do that part. Anyway, there's a specific part of the test, okay? And anybody smarter than me is going to know what part I'm talking about. They show you words and they tell you and they ask you to define them, okay? And there's correct response, almost correct. You know, you're out. You have no fucking clue. And one of the things about that was it got to a point in the words where I went, how does anybody fucking know those words? Like, there's a bunch of them that, like, unless you were really studious in fucking high school or college, there's no way you would fucking come across those words. Unless your ass is reading, like, fucking, I don't know, 18th century fucking literature or something from, like, England, would you come across some of these words? And I asked the person, I said, well, how? And she goes, oh, I didn't even know 5 of them. And I said, well, how far do you have to get on it to score in the normal range? And like, honest to God, both of us, like, we looked it up and like the number of words that you have to get and the number of exact for the definitions. And like one of the words, I even argued what the fuck the definition they were looking for was. Now, granted, again, I'm not smart. I just argue a lot. But like, when
that's where they're like autism.
Yeah. And that's when I pointed out to her that, like, how does this even make sense to have this section even in an IQ? Because it's purely based on you coming across this word and or being told what this word is. And
well, I believe because I took a test when I was younger.
Yeah.
That had something like that.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, and I think at some point you have to figure out what the word means using context.
But there's no context. They show you it on a screen and they read it out loud. So what context do you have?
Is that the one where you have to pick out the word that doesn't belong?
No, literally it is words on a screen.
And then what are you supposed to pick?
Nothing. You just define the word.
What do you mean words on a screen?
Like, okay, there's
a single word?
No, there's like 9 or 10 of them, and you just have to go down the fucking list, and I say it out loud, and you just tell me what it means.
Oh, okay.
The definition of it.
No, I thought
Like-
you were something else. I thought you were talking
Like,
about
fuck.
You know how they have like when you do certain parts of IQ tests, they have like the one where you have to like the pattern one, and then they have
You mean the blocks? that you
there's
gotta put
ones with
together?
patterns where you have to you have to figure out what the pattern is, and they do ones with numbers. We have to figure out
Yep.
the sequencing of the numbers and
yeah.
all that. There was something I did when I was younger where they had like you had to figure out based on the context. It would give you like 4 words, and you had to figure out. Some of them were easy, and then they started to get harder. Where even if you didn't know what the word meant, you had to determine it based on the context and like predicates and stuff like that.
I know nothing about what you're talking about.
Okay.
Like that test in particular, never saw.
So at some point, like
Wow.
they don't necessarily expect you to know the word. They expect you
to figure it out.
yes, by using reasoning, like figuring out,
don't-
okay, well, I know if you break down the words, I know what this
I
part of
don't-
the word means.
I don't know that.
If you
test.
know, like, what do they call it in like etymology when you're talking about like the root? Is it called the root word? So if you know like the root word or you know part of the word, you can try to infer the meaning, stuff like that.
Yeah. Like TION or TIVE at the end of the word designate certain things and shit.
Yeah, or if you know, like, I'm trying to think of a good example.
Like,
but
itis means inflammation. So any word that has itis at the end of it means inflammation.
I was thinking, like, lead, right? The scientific name for lead is plumbum, and it was used as
What?
the scientific name for lead is plumbum
Really?
or PB.
Really?
Yeah, because lead was used as pipes for water in ancient Rome.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where the word plumber comes from.
Huh.
Because all pipes used to be made out of lead.
I did not know that.
So if you know like a part of a word or the etymology or like the root word, sometimes you can figure out what the rest of the word means. I don't know.
No. You are absolutely correct. I didn't know that. They used lead for pipes in Rome.
Yes.
And yet we look at philosophers from Roman times as these great grand thinkers when really they were just having lead poisoning.
Well, I mean, the Greek philosophers, I don't think were drinking from lead pipes, but the Romans, yeah.
Yeah, that's what. But like we
But
look
most
at
of the Greek
like,
philosophers-
Roman people as being smart.
Some of them.
Well, some, yeah.
Well,
not
but
all,
how much lead
not all.
poisoning would you get if you like? Because think about they had the aqueducts and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
but I have no idea how much or how little actual lead poisoning there was. I'm just saying that we know lead poisoning is a thing.
What about people who used to make stuff with pewter and then would get lead poisoning?
Yeah, like what the fuck?
But anyway,
Hey, you know what? Somebody. Oh, yeah. I was about to stray to another topic. So speaking of ADHD,
no, the last one was
okay.
the last. I'm gonna put all of these on the episode. I'll link all of the studies, so if
Oh,
anybody
joy!
wants to look
So
at
all
them,
of you guys can look at them too.
yeah, if you're curious to check them out, so they know what we're
absolutely.
talking about.
Yeah.
The last one was you asked me about shallow thinking.
I did.
Right?
I did.
Yeah, you asked me what do you mean because I told you I thought that it
Yeah.
This stuff
I
was
asked
making-
for your definition. But
right.
Yeah, these people are going.
And so then I tried to see if there's anything about shallow thinking.
Yeah.
But there's another one from the Frontiers in Psychology page,
Uh-huh.
but it was about social media.
Superficial processing.
So a 2025 study found that children with high social media use performed 1 to 4 points lower on reading and memory tests.
All right.
The infinite scroll trains the eye to skim keywords rather than process complex sentence structures.
Uh-huh.
If you want to look at the actual...
No.
Oh, okay. The thing, I couldn't find a conclusion on this one.
Yeah.
It has attention, it has like sections, but I don't see like a conclusion.
I'm gonna have to call that suspect then. I mean, it looks like they have references and shit, but I don't see a section. Yeah, I don't.
But anyway,
That's an interesting one.
so I still stick by my initial premise, which is I think that
even
I think
before
that
you looked up all this shit, you can still stick by your premise, dude.
yeah, but if I found a bunch of evidence contrary to what I was saying, then I wouldn't sit there and be like, well, I still believe it.
Yeah, but even so this has actually come up a couple of times at work. Just because there might be some stuff that counteracts or provides evidence to support the opposite of what you were thinking, that doesn't necessarily rule out what you were thinking. And like somebody at my job, so I just started doing ABA again for work. Somebody at my job, I was talking about PDA, and they said, well, there's not a lot of research. And I said, yeah, but all things start out not having a lot of research until people fucking research it. And she goes, well, but, until there's enough research, I don't think it's something we should talk about. And I said, that's actually when you should start talking about it, is as they're developing research, right? And she said, well, but could it also be this other thing? Because for a long, long time, we just thought people were just oppositional defiant. And I went, and if we look at the history of oppositional defiance disorder, we can see something else coming out of it. But like, there's not a lot of research for PDA as a thing by itself, or even, in conjunction with autism or ADHD. But there's some evidence that supports it. And so my conversation with her was that sometimes we don't have a lot of evidence to support something, and to sit around and wait for it.
Just a lot of anecdotal experience.
And that's fine.
Because a lot of people sharing.
That's how it all starts.
A lot of people who have autism sharing a similar experience.
Right. And so that's the thing. So when especially when I say it's just an anecdotal story, it's because it's just something I noticed, or it's a story from my past. But that doesn't discredit anything about what I'm saying, because all of these things start anecdotally. Like, every disorder you've ever heard of started anecdotally. It started from some psychologist, some therapist going, I'm noticing X number of people of X number of X type of demographic state similarities. Maybe I should look into that more. And then somebody else takes that and clinically looks at it, and then tries to see if they can see it from an isolated perspective, meaning outside of a therapeutic room. And then somebody else double checks on that, and then we get more and more evidence to support it. And it takes a long time, but that doesn't mean we should discount somebody's experience when they address it. But we should also...
What's that, like, chronic pain?
We should also be a little skeptical at the same
What's that
time.
chronic pain disease?
Which one?
The one when people have chronic pain, but it's like hard to diagnose. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Isn't that would probably be like a situation where it's like a bunch of people keep reporting it, but for a long time, a lot of doctors said it didn't exist because
that nerve. What the fuck?
Because they couldn't find like any medical proof that the
not for a really long time.
They don't have a lot of testing for it.
No, well, actually, there's no test. What is that called?
You know what I'm talking about.
I do. It's the one where your nerves endings feel like they're on fire. Fuck, chronic pain. What the fuck is that thing called? Fuck, what is it? Was it the fatigue syndrome? No, it's not fatigue.
Fibromyalgia.
That's the one. Yeah. Fibromyalgia. I could. Oh shit.
So people would basically get like gaslit and like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Yeah. They would just say like, because they have constant pain, but they couldn't. It was hard for doctors or anybody to prove that it was real. So it's like one of those things where people reporting something and they're like, well, there's no evidence to support that disease exists.
Well, I mean, when it comes to sensory issues, there's a ton of people who still don't believe that sensory issues are real. They think that the person is just trying to get out of work, or, oh, it's not that loud. It doesn't sound that loud to me. Well, asshole, your brain isn't activating the same as other people. And actually, so I'm a big fan of a lot of emerging research right now in the last 5-10 years about brain structure and how we're actually looking at how people's brains are lighting up more, and specifically like autism, ADHD, bipolar, OCD. So we're actually understanding that it is straight up a difference. It's not just somebody being particular about light and sound. There's actual more information coming into the brain. And of course you might get overwhelmed by it.
Doesn't have to do with like, well, the thing is that it's different person to person. And like it has something to do with like neural pathways, right?
Right. Well, so yes, it is different person to person, like the sensitivity or which sense is the most sensitive. But the overall idea of a sensory sensitivity, it's like it's pretty similar. Like you've got a different sensitivity than I do.
I sent you that video the other day. Yeah. That was about how sometimes when certain people close their eyes and they see like, let's say
speckles.
or let's say you're going to sleep at night, the lights are off. It's not like when you close your eyes and you see residual light still in your eyes. I'm talking about like you close your eyes, it's pitch black, and you see like spirals or like static or all kinds of patterns. And apparently it has something to do with like the part of the visual part of the brain being still hyperactive, even though you're trying to sleep. Yeah. So it starts producing images in your brain, even though you're not looking at anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I thought that was interesting because that's happened to me ever since I was a little kid. Like I'd close my eyes and go to sleep and I'd see like purple swirls or like just swirls of colors everywhere when I close my eyes. And I always thought that was normal. I mean, apparently it is normal, but it's not normal for
a specific type of person.
Not normal for everybody.
Yeah. It's just
but it has to do with
the
visual part of your brain still being super active, so it starts like producing shit. So you're visualizing stuff in your brain. Yeah, but apparently,
I was just listening to somebody the other day talk about how for a very, very, very long time they thought they had tinnitus. You know, that high pitched ringing in your ears. Yeah, which they believed it was because of damage to their ear. But I guess some doctor, ears, nose, and throat guy actually took a greater look at their ear or whatever, and they said there's no way you have tinnitus. Your ear is too good or whatever the fuck. And the person said, but I'm always hearing it. And then what did they do? I forgot exactly how the whole story goes, but at some point he figured out that it's a sensitivity he has to sound. It's not actually like tinnitus in the sense of like damage to his hearing.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how they figured out ran a bunch of tests and nobody wanted to believe him. Because initially somebody said he just had tinnitus, and then somebody else said, no, I don't think you have tinnitus. And then he kept saying, well, I'm hearing this thing, and nobody could, you know what I mean? Like for me, I know I've got tinnitus because like I went to an audiologist and he played sounds that are really, really quiet, low pitched sounds, and that people are supposed to be able to hear if they have good hearing. And I couldn't hear him at all. And he was like, you have tinnitus. Because I kept telling him that I can't hear it over the sound of this high-pitched sound in my ears. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, you have tinnitus. And I went, how do you know? And he goes, because you were supposed to be able to hear that shit and you couldn't. He was like, because that is too high for you to have heard. And I said, well, then what causes that? And he goes, you're hearing white noise. I was like, what do you mean? And he tried to explain it. It's damage to the ear and it doesn't filter out something or other.
The way your eardrum works is actually really strange.
It is. It's fucking crazy.
And it's like it's sensitive. It works almost like a speaker.
Yeah.
Or a microphone.
Kinda. Yeah.
But it sends the vibrations through a nerve into your brain and then like it interprets it. It's really just really when you think about how like vision and sound, like all our senses work, it's just they're weird.
Right.
It almost feels like alien technology. Not that it is, but I'm saying
don't come on, man.
There's something about it. I'm not saying it. I'm saying that there's something very strange and like when you stop to think about how our brains process the world.
Yeah.
It's just it's so weird. Like to think is like because technically everything we're seeing is not real. It's all just the way our brain interprets. all this stuff.
Like everything's actually black and white. Yeah,
and just really odd. That's all.
Yeah, everything around us is actually dark and light. It's not actually the color itself.
Your senses lie to you.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why you shouldn't believe the way you feel initially. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? Anyway.
We should probably get wrapped up because I'm done with unless there's anything else you want to add about this.
Other than ranting and bitching about something.
Spay and neuter your pets, and make sure you decouple your kid from the iPad once in a while.
Jesus Christ. So like, subscribe, follow. Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me if you agree with Steve or if you don't agree with Steve. And if you think Steve should start his own OnlyFans account where all he does is dance in a G-string, please let us know if you like the idea.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.